Hello everyone and welcome to my new video. And what is this video about? Well, we're going to spend some more time chopping up audio and playing it back in fun, interesting ways using our imagination and our hands. That didn't really meant to come out sounding as weird and dirty as it did, but nonetheless that's the score. So what we're going to do, well, I'm going to kind of play around with a concept I did in a previous video of slicing up some audio and using an arpeggiator to play back the various slices of the audio, only this time I'm going to do it with multiple elements. So before I set up the recording for this video masterpiece, I recorded some loops which I then printed into lovely big fat chunky audio here. Ooh, let's have a listen to this one. It's kind of funky guitar thing here. Yeah, I played that. And I played this too, some bass. And I did the drums too. Here are the drums. Some lovely printed loops that I did, and I played them all myself because I am a multi-instrumentalist. Let's hear them all at the same time. It's probably going to be really loud. So that was a kind of sort of muso school session musician clinic kind of, you know, horrid, not the kind of stuff that I would normally like to listen to. It kind of makes me cringe when I watch people make music like that, unless it's me doing it, in which case I don't mind, it's totally acceptable. So, but basically I kind of went for a sort of Hendrix, old school square pusher, sort of Venetian snares kind of thing. And yeah, what we're going to do now is we're going to chuck them into a instrument rack and turn it into something that we can jam with using the push. Didn't mean to create an audio track there. Right, so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to bring in a simpler onto this MIDI channel here. And these loops are all 8 bars long, so the clip view tells me. And so when I slice them into 1/8 notes, which is what I'm going to do, it's going to fill up the entire grid of the push, which I will turn on in a minute because I'm using a second camera. So I'll drop the guitar in first, set it to slice, and then I'll go to slice by beat, slice by 1/8, and I'll just start the other camera. And here it is. It's very loud. Watch your speakers. Watch your bass bins. I'm also going to be a bit cack at playing this because I have to reach round the camera tripod. Okay, so now we'll just put our arpeggiator in front of that. Ooh, excuse me, and I'll set that to 1/8. And the style can just be, let's not worry about the style right now, just have it to up. So now when I try a different combination of notes by pressing all of the pads, I'll either get a version of the original, or I can kind of just make a strange shape with my hand and get random bits. Fun, isn't it? But this is when it gets really, really, really interesting, because what we're going to do is we're going to group this simpler, and I'm going to chuck 2 more simplers in, and I'm going to put those other loops in so we can record them all at the same time. Well, I say record, we can play them all back at the same time, and then we can kind of mix between them and kind of turn one down and isolate bits or whatever, so we're not just like playing the whole thing. We can take out the guitar if we want. Let's do that. Let's put one simpler in there and one in there. Let's put the bass in that one, and let's put the drums in that one. Let's go to slice. Let's set this to beat to 1/8, and then the bass will set to slice. Set to beat and 1/8. And again, this is going to be pretty loud. Let's have a listen. Okay, I'll turn it down a bit. So it's already sounding really good fun to me. I'm just going to guzzle a bit of beer to celebrate my achievement there. Ah, mother. So, right, I'm going to put hold on the arpeggiator, and then I can just sort of... Oops. And because this is all sort of audio, the CPU shouldn't be working too hard. Let's have another listen. Okay, so what we can do in conjunction with the arpeggiator is, rather than just have it sort of bounce between all the various slices, we can actually use it to play phrases within all the loops. So remember that these are 3 loops, they're all the same length, and they've all been stacked up on top of each other and are essentially all responding to the same MIDI. So I only really need to adjust the settings of this one arpeggiator, which I'm going to do now to sort of create phrases. So just by pressing one note. So if I go to the distance, set the distance to 1, that means that it'll advance 1 MIDI note, effectively advancing 1 slice each time. Now, if I go to the steps, I can choose how many slices or MIDI notes it advances. So I'm just going to go 3. No, 2, because 0 counts as 1, 1, 2, 3. And now if I just press one note, it'll actually play the 3. Okay, that's cool, isn't it? So we can actually play with that a little bit more. We can maybe have it play more steps. Let's try 7, and then that would, I think that would give us like a bar or 2 bars. But the interesting thing, I think, is when you play with measure or amount of steps that aren't in 4s, and you bring in this re-trigger thing here, which I think I did in a previous video before. I'm basically remaking an old video just with different sounds. Sorry, it's hard to come up with ideas sometimes. So with this now, where I've got the distance to 1 and the steps to 3, it'll advance up 3 steps at a time, but it'll go back to 1 according to the this beat dial here, which I've currently set to 1, which I think is a bar. So if I press this here, it'll go 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2, which is like fitting all of those steps over a bar. I just love like electric guitars really digitally chopped up. It's my thing. I love it. You can't see me, but I am raving like a fucking pigeon right now. I love it. Okay, so let's run with this a little bit more and let's macro some shit. Let's macro the volume on these 3 chains here to the various macros. We'll macro them to the macros like that. And I'll just quickly jump into the macro mapper and macro everything to 0 dB so that when I turn them up fully, it's just going to go to max. All right, so that's pretty good. Now, why don't we group these into groups and group into groups? Let's just group everything into groups because that's all people care about. And I'll macro these again here to this new macro, macro UU, macro U. This is the thrilling bit of the video. What do we have there then? Now we should just be able to turn up what we want and do it from the push as well. Whoops! I need the camera. I need the camera with my knee, which is bad because I need the camera to film everything. See what I did there? So we can kind of mix in and out between the elements, and I guess you could use as many elements as you wanted, but I'm going to use a few for the sake of this video. I don't want to do like 20. That'd be suicide. YouTube suicide. So this is just a bit of silence because I left a bar of silence at the end of all the loops. Let's listen to that. Oh, lovely. It's funky, isn't it? Isn't it funky? Like a funky chicken. So going back to that concept I was saying a minute ago about re-triggering the arpeggio, we can actually have that to as many as 4, which I think is 4 bars. I'm going to go with 2 for now, to basically make the phrases longer. Okay, what I'm just going to do now is map the hold on the arpeggiator to a macro to macro number 8, so I don't have to keep pressing play and stopping. I can just turn it off. So now it'll stop when I take my fingers off, see? So if you want to kind of like hold your position and kind of move around and find some things, it'll probably help a little bit more if you know your loop quite well, because it's very easy for it to just come out like a load of sporadic shit. But hey, have you ever seen my videos? So now if I want to hold that, I just turn hold on, which I've mapped to macro 8 on push, and I have to reach round. So we could map a whole load of other arpeggiated stuff to the macros, but what I'm going to try to do now, which is going to be challenging, I'm going to create different versions of this. I'm going to group that, groups within the groups. I'm going to call this one forward. Oh, I can't spell. Oh! Do you want to enable dictation? No. Right. Forward. Don't know how I did that. Forward. Okay. Let's duplicate this one. And this one will be reverse. See where I'm going? Right. I'm now gonna go into all of these and reverse them. Reverse sample, and reverse sample. Now none of these are responding to velocity. Can you see here? Velocity to volume is down, should be down on all of them. So I'm going to jump in here. I'm going to go into the velocity chain and I'm going to distribute ranges equally. And then I'm going to pull in a velocity instrument here, which I think I want to be after or before. Oh, I don't know if I want it before or after the arpeggio. Let's just put it before. Let's put it before, shall we? And then I'm going to map that to macro 7, and I'm going to call that select. Because I'm, well, old school jungle. And now, if I turn that, I should be able to turn to the backwards ones. Let's have a go, shall we? I'm going to have to stand up. Okay, I worked it out. The velocity needs to go after the arpeggio because the arpeggio is triggering the notes. So if we want to hold MIDI notes and change the velocity, that's obviously going to have to go after. Let's try that now. Okay, it's working. So why don't we keep going with that and put in some other, let's put some other ones in. Let's duplicate that one and let's call this one stretch. And let's distribute all those ranges equally again. Let's go into this one and we'll go into the chains and let's set the warp to texture on all of them, and let's just double time all of them. All of them. This is the exciting bit. This isn't the exciting bit. The whole video is the exciting bit. Right, let's see how that's going to sound a bit strange. So actually, because we've doubled the time twice, we've actually increased, or rather decreased, the amount of slices. So let's actually set the division to 1/2. There we go. That's what we want. It's working. It's working. Whoa, what did I just do there? Can I zoom out here, please? All right. So let's go back to our velocity. Let's see how that sounds now. Sounded quite bad, actually, didn't it? The grain size was a little too high. Let's put the grain size down. Let's put the flux down. Let's do that on all of them. I said the thing is, the more elements you bring in, the more of a ball ache it is to go in and adjust all of them. Right. Let's go. Okay, we've got another problem because of the note length. So, these are all set to gate. I think I might have bitten off more than I can chew. So, because we've doubled the division, that means that they're playing for longer than the other ones that are set to 1/8. How do we change that? Well, we could set them all to gate, but then I think that's going to do that for every single one in this nested. Yeah, it has. Okay, that's a little annoying. And this is one thing I find very contrary and annoying about Ableton, is that when you have a rack inside another rack, and you copy value to siblings, it does it to every single one in the whole nested system, not just to the single rack that you're in, which to my mind is counterintuitive. Anyway, enough whining. So what we've got there is a choppy weird thing. How can we make this work? I'm not going to sleep until I've sorted this out. Well, we could use a note length. But then when we go to a different selection, we'll get a different note length. Or nothing at all. Have I broken it? Have I broken the internet? What have I done? Okay. Okay, it's fine because the playback... It should be okay because the playback is mono, so every time that it triggers a new slice, regardless of the length of that slice, it's going to cancel it out and play the new one. So if they're all like that, we should be okay. So we can just basically max out the note length here with this note length device, which is 1/4, which is the same division as the time stretched slices. Let's see how we get on. Yeah, I mean, that sounded fucking horrid, actually. I'm just gonna fuck that off and stick with the forward button. It can't be arsed. So, now everything's gone weird. What have I done? I've ruined it. I've ruined it, haven't I? Oh, I don't need that velocity thing anymore. And I can ungroup that. What do we got now? That's disgusting. Oh, I know, it's because I set them all to gate, that's why. So actually the gate and trigger relationship is kind of important here. Because it's basically you're basically deciding whether you're going to have any decay or not, regardless of the actual length of the note. So you can just kind of press. So that could be kind of fun. We could actually map the gate from the arpeggiator to give it like an extra kind of choppy kind of vibe. I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to copy value to siblings and disregard that. Oh, and I can't reach the push. I can't reach it. So another thing we can do obviously is map the style of the arpeggiator to a macro. Let's do that. Let's map that to macro 7, which is called selector, but I'm actually just going to change that to style because I have no style. So of course, if we can macro the style, then we can choose how all the various slices move around. Personally, I just like to use. Well, actually, the up is obviously very good because you can kind of think that like, oh, if I'm going to play that one first, if I'm going to play that one first and I play the next one, it's going to bounce between these two. But we could use something like random to just basically bounce around a whole load of them. Play in order is quite good because it'll play them in the order that you place all the notes down and stuff. Anyway, I think I've probably done more than I needed to. Of course, I forgot that we can volume everything. So if we decide we don't like guitars anymore, we can just have drum and bass. Turn the steps off now. Just do it one slice at a time. It's all about finding new grooves from, you know, the one you've got and just playing around. Just make funny shapes with your hands, see how it sounds. Okay, I think that's enough. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you found that useful. I'm going to zip that up and put that on Patreon now. And if you'd like to go and download that, plus everything else that I've ever done in a YouTube video in the last 2 years, you can do that. And you pay for my drinking habit. You can handle the guilt of that. Right.